start right away. Last week, Russia asked Ukraine for permission to hold its Victory Day parade, and this week, Russia used the ceasefire to reload. And then, in the dead of night, they launched something so massive, so deliberate, so designed to break Ukraine that the number we're going to tell you today will not feel real. And while that was happening, the president of the United States was landing in Beijing. For the summit, he sat across from Xi Jinping, smiling, and we're going to break down everything that happened on that trip as well, if anything was achieved. But we do have some good news as well. Somewhere in The Hague, something happened to Vladimir Putin, something he cannot pardon himself out of, something he cannot bomb away. Today, we have a man sitting right next to me who flies drones against the Russian armor, who built the systems Ukraine is using, who is going to explain how Ukraine turned $100 balloon, yeah, you're hearing me right, into a weapon that burns $1 million missile. So stay with us because today every story connects. Also, make sure you stay till then because in the end I will break down Tucker Carlson's interview with C word Julia Mendel and all the lies that she has told the MAGA crowd. Also, one more thing before we start. 2 days ago, I released a video. It's not a live stream. It's not a news update. It's an episode of a new series. It has a story with a beginning, a middle, and an ending that will make your jaw drop. It starts in 1676 with a letter, and it ends with Zelensky. And why those two moments, 350 years apart, are the same exact moment. We'll come back to it later in the show. I'll talk about it some more. And the link is pinned at the top of the chat, and it's also in the show notes below. I am Slavie, and this is Slavacast World at War Live. Today we have James joining us. He's a defender of Ukraine with the Azov battalion. He's a drone warfare specialist. He will tell us all about these birds that we have taken over in defense innovation. James, welcome to Slavacast.
Hey.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great. It's great news. Interesting thing. I've been in the lab so much this past week. I haven't been able to catch up with the news as much as I usually do. So the balloon thing, the most recent balloon thing, was actually new to me when you just mentioned it.
I was like, don't give away too much because we're definitely going to come back to it.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys stay around because we will talk about the balloon thing and all about it. It's kind of, it reminds me of kind of spider web vibes.
A little bit. I don't know which exact companies are doing that, but I worked with several of those companies, both foreign and Ukrainian, last year on some projects. So it'll be interesting when I find out who is actually responsible. I'm going to talk to my contacts and say, hey, was it you guys?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty genius. Guys, before we start, if you're new here, welcome to the show. Please subscribe right now. And also don't forget to hit the bell, like the stream. It's also algorithm. This matters. It keeps Ukraine in the algorithm. Also share. And there's a new feature, drop a hype. Just if you're on your phone, just swipe the chat box and you'll see a hype feature there. And here's why this matters tonight. By the way, Russia's economy is collapsing. Their military is burning through drones they cannot replace fast enough. Their allies are abandoning them. And every subscribe and every share keeps this analysis alive. So you're not watching a show today. You are part of the information war. So let's go.
That's right.
Let me start with what happened while the world was watching Trump in Beijing. Well, Russia launched the largest drone and missile barrage of this entire war. Here are the numbers, and I need you to sit with these numbers. On May 14th, a Russian cruise missile hit a 9-story apartment building in Kyiv's Darnitsky district. At least 24 people were killed, including 3 teenagers. Around 48 people were wounded, including 2 children. Rescue workers spent 28 hours straight working in the rubble before they could stop the search. This was one of the biggest single barrages against Kyiv since the full-scale invasion began in 2022. At least 20 locations across Kyiv were hit in this attack, and residential apartment blocks, a school, a veterinary clinic. Zelensky said that these specific targets prove that Russia is not behaving like a country that wants the war to end. Russia launched around 1,500 Shahed-type drones against Ukraine in this single campaign. That same campaign included roughly 50 or more missiles in the latest wave alone. About 180 sites were damaged across Ukraine. More than 50 of those were residential buildings, apartment blocks where people were sleeping. While all of this was happening, Ukrainian drones struck the Rostov Air Navigation Center in the southern Russia. That facility manages all air traffic across Russia's south. That single strike shut down 13 Russian airports, including Krasnodar, Sochi, Volgograd, Grozny, and Stavropol. Russian airports, not Ukrainian. Just want to make that clear. For context, Ukrainian airports have been completely closed to all civilian flights since February 24th, 2022. Russia used double tap tactics during these attacks, deliberately hitting the same location twice, specifically timed to kill the rescue workers and first responders who arrived after the first strike happened. Despite the scale of the assault, Ukraine intercepted approximately 92% of the nearly 2,000 drones launched in recent days and shot down most of the incoming missiles. So, James, we have to start with this news. Any words on this awful attack?
Yeah. So the terrible irony is that when these massive attacks occur in the major cities, those of us who are closer to the front lines get less attacks. We get fewer. So we go from 5 to 25 a day down to like 1 to 3. So in some ways, it's a relief for those guys who are in like frontline cities, relatively frontline areas, because Russia starts directing. Now, the flip side of that is, like, for instance, we can always tell when there's some sort of dignitary in Kyiv, some sort of international commission or something, because then we in the frontline cities get schwacked, way more than we normally would. Like, why are we getting hit with freaking kinjals or whatever? Oh, okay, because there's so and so ambassadors in Kyiv and they don't want to. Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would say is that it just points out again and again the difference in terms of Ukraine's strategy, and it is a strategy, versus Russia's strategy. Ukraine's strategy in general is to take out military or military economic targets, okay? And Russia's strategy is to just try and make Ukraine unlivable for civilians and to scare them away, essentially, so that more and more Ukrainians will leave the country. I don't know what they expect that's going to produce. In fact, don't tell the Russians this, but in many ways, it has the opposite effect. That a constant reminder to those peaceful citizens in Lviv and Kyiv, for example, who could otherwise just go on with their lives and almost even forget about the war. Uh, but they've got this horrible tragedy that they it's physically in their face. And it is like, why? It's so dumb. And I mean, I myself have seen, both in the frontline cities and otherwise, Russian drones fly over military targets, to hit like a busload of children. Why? Is that effective? It's dumb. So, yeah, I guess that's my opinion on it. Yeah,
Well,
obviously a tragedy, but
yeah, as long as Russia has been around, it's always been their tactic is to. That's why I call them
yeah,
Mongols,
yeah,
because they are even up to this modern day,
yeah,
and they're going back in time and becoming these creatures. I don't even want to call them humans,
yeah.
because humans would not do that. So
Well, the Mongols and the Huns before them,
creatures.
uh, arguably used that tactic to clear pasture land for their cows. Like, humans are occupying this land. We want it for our cows and our sheep or whatever they've got. The Russians
Yeah.
don't even have that as a defense. So, not that I'm defending Genghis Khan or anything, but
Well, they do have their donkeys and cavalries.
yeah,
I'm not sure
yeah,
how
yeah.
that's
Yeah, I've
doing.
said this before. The Ukrainian army's not perfect, but thank God they're smarter than the orcs. You know, um,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
it's the only thing keeping us alive. Sometimes is that they're just dumb. Not always, not 100%, but a lot of times.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, that dumbness is actually extending, because Russia is extending the war north. Lukashenko has publicly announced that Belarus will move to a rotating mobilization model. He stated that Belarus must prepare for war, and that new military units are actively being created. Ukrainian intelligence has identified new road construction heading toward the Ukrainian border from Belarusian territory. New artillery positions and prepared military sites have been spotted near the border with Ukraine. These patterns are directly uh, echoing what happened in February 2022 when Russian troops used Belarusian territory as a staging area to drive toward Kyiv. Russia currently has a few thousand troops permanently stationed inside Belarus. The Belarusian armed forces have around 45,000 active duty soldiers and more than 200,000 in reserve. Belarus shares borders with Ukraine, Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, which makes it a strategically perfect staging area against both Ukraine and NATO's eastern flank simultaneously. Russia's strategic goal here is straightforward: force Ukraine to keep significant troop numbers positioned in the north, pulling them away from the critical front lines in the east and south where the real fighting is happening. So Russia told the world last week and wanted a ceasefire for their parade, then used the ceasefire to load 1,500 drones, then launched them at apartment buildings, at schools, at rescue workers. That is not a peace offer, that is a reload. James, have you seen what Shahed drones do up close? When you
Oh
see
yeah.
a 500 of them launched in a single campaign, what does that tell you about Russia's production capacity right now?
Well, I
And
mean,
is Ukraine's 92% intercept rate sustainable at that scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, especially for Shaheds. I think that interception rate is going to be stable or increase. Russia is going to have to keep on making more and more of these drones, or come up with some other technology, because Ukraine's interceptor technology and interceptor teams, both military and civilian defense forces, are increasing, building and building and building, and now you've got the AN-24s, the mothership airplanes, coming in, doing their thing. You've got also Ukraine's coming out with mothership fixed wing drones that launch interceptors. Interceptors launched remotely from the ground, and that's just going to keep on continuing. So the real concern is going to continue to be defeating these ballistic missiles. That's the real hard part, and that's what did this major destruction in Kyiv, in that big apartment complex. And I've seen it here, very very close to me, very close to my laboratory. And once again, just stupid targets. But that is a cat and mouse game that is just going to constantly be played. But the thing with Belarus, again, this is a classic case of, thank God the Russians are so dumb, because what's the actual result going to be? Whatever their purpose is, the actual result of mobilizing Belarus and putting a bunch of weapons in Belarus, blah blah blah, is freaking out Poland. Okay, freaking out Poland and Latvia and other Western and NATO nations, waking them up more to if they just let Belarus just kind of be the sleeper that it actually is, then I think that Poland, if they hadn't done this thing with the border where they're letting like Syrians and Iraqis through, all this other stuff, and it just gets the Polish people more and more freaked out and afraid, which causes them. The Polish army is now one of the largest in Europe, and they're building up, and which has reciprocating effects, reverberating effects all over the countries around them as well. So they're, whatever their strategy is, it's having ultimately the opposite effect. It's that same thing with these strikes on major Western Ukrainian cities. The ultimate effect is totally counterproductive from the Russian perspective. Never stop your enemy when he's making a mistake. I mean,
What's the word on Belarus in Ukraine among the defenders? Is that a big threat?
No. I mean, look. I mean, I know they mobilized for an example. Okay, the last time Belarus had a big buildup, they mobilized a bunch of border guards, Ukrainian border guards, and I have friends who are in the border guards. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad guys, but they're not like the most trained elite forces. Okay. Yeah. The time before that Belarus had a big buildup. Supposedly they sent the International Legion there. So it's not. I don't think that Ukraine. It's like, hey, we do need to be cautious. It could happen, but it's a kind of a low priority, low chance. And I know that there are Belarusian fighters in the Ukrainian army as well. I don't know them personally, but I know people who know them, and I think that is something that Belarus needs to be much more concerned about, because when this war is over, that domino is going to fall. Whether it's Lukashenko or whoever replaces him, that domino is definitely going to fall.
I see. Well, that's actually good news to hear that
silver lining
it's not very
in that dark
concerning.
Cloud. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, we have a lot of news to get through today, so let's keep going. I also have a new poll for you viewers in the chat, if you want to take a look at it. So let's talk about Trump in Beijing and what he gave, what he got. While Russia was loading drones pointed at Ukraine, the president of the United States was in Beijing. The summit will be studied for years, not for what was agreed, for what was surrendered. Just by flying to Beijing, Trump handed Xi Jinping a propaganda win. The global optic that America comes to China, not the other way around. Trump publicly agreed that with Xi's claim that the United States is a declining nation, and Trump said Xi was 100% correct that America is in decline while sitting on Chinese soil as the sitting president of the United States. Trump blamed Biden, of course, for the decline. It's not Trump's fault, like he's not the active president right now. That optic belongs to him. Trump reportedly boasted about U.S. intelligence operation against China during the meeting, handing Xi extra ammunition for his domestic audiences and security services. Trump claimed that there were deliverables from the summit that China itself never confirmed, making Washington look needy and unserious on the world stage. The whole world is laughing at United States. The United States went into the summit with a very specific objectives: loosen tariffs and ease trade tensions. Washington wanted concrete promises of significantly higher Chinese purchases of American goods. It wanted improved market access for American companies operating in China. It wanted concrete binding steps for Beijing on fentanyl persecutor chemicals that are flowing into the United States and killing Americans. It wanted meaningful pressure on human rights and fair human rights.
God, ridiculous.
Here's what actually came out of Beijing. Let's stop. Let's be serious for a second. No new trade deals, no tariff rollback, no serious commitments on Chinese imports of American products, only vague, non-binding language of fentanyl. Analysts who cover China professionally are describing the summit as underwhelming and are saying that Beijing clearly came out ahead. Now let's discuss Taiwan. How Trump is paving the way for China to get what they want, which is Taiwan. There is already an arms package for Taiwan worth approximately $11 billion that was approved under Trump. A second package worth approximately $14 billion is still sitting on Trump's desk, waiting for final sign off. Beijing's entire goal coming into the summit was to convince Trump that approving the second package would destroy the relationship and kill any deals Trump wanted with China. After the meeting, when reporters asked Trump directly about Taiwan, he said, and I'm quoting, "I made no commitment either way." That line is the tell. Leaving the door open to slow rolling or killing that arms package is precisely the outcome Beijing came to achieve. The formal U.S. defense treaty with Taiwan was canceled in 1979, and today, American commitment to Taiwan rests on the Taiwan Relations Act and what diplomats call strategic ambiguity. U.S. military wargaming and analysis consistently show that in direct conflict over Taiwan, China could win if Washington hesitates on or delivers weapons late. Wavering on arms deliveries is not a neutral position, and it is exactly the outcome that Beijing is paying for. So basically, Trump sold out Taiwan. I said this 2 weeks ago. This is exactly what was going to happen. But I did say that Trump was going to get an offer, but he didn't even get an offer from China. So, oh boy, this is terrible. James, I know you can't really comment on.
Okay, there are some things I can comment on
Okay.
here,
Okay.
and my take on this is going to be a little more nuanced. Okay, I think everybody knows my opinion about the orange one. But okay, so let's keep some things in mind here. Trump hates going on international trips. Absolutely, just this is well documented. Absolutely despise him. It's a too far from his favorite diapers or whatever the reason is. He doesn't like it. Okay. So him going, on bended knee or whatever the case may be, this is very, very significant. Look at who he took in tow. You got Elon Musk, like they're back together. What soap opera is this? But also, big major like corn companies or soybean, whatever.
Yeah.
Cisco Systems, the CEO of Cisco Systems, very important computer networking. And there's some things going on there where, as a network engineer, I can tell you, China has been stealing technology from American companies forever and ever. And the American companies like Tesla, like Cisco, bend over and take it because they think it will give them access to that, 1 billion something people. And I'm constantly reminded of Charlie Brown, getting the football pulled away by Lucy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Slavie, you don't get that cultural reference. You're a bit young, but those of us older folks here who knew the old Charlie Brown cartoons, Lucy would always set the football for Charlie Brown, and then he'd run to kick it, and she'd always pull it away. And every time she'd say, "No, this time I'm not going to do it, Charlie Brown," and this time, Xi Jinping says, "I'm not going to steal your technology this time. I swear." We'll give you access to the market for 5 or 6 years, and I swear we're not going to kick you out, because that's what happened, right? That's what happens with companies like Tesla and Cisco and these other companies. They effectively get either kicked out or pushed out by the competition that's like BYD that has stolen all their tech and then pushed them out of the Chinese market. And that is not pure capitalism. That is, those Chinese companies are getting massive backing from the Chinese government to do so, to dump their product and bankrupt, and that's what they've done with solar panels internationally and all this type of stuff. There is, I would like to point out, a silver lining in this dark cloud, however, and I think that what we are witnessing, and I'm just inferring this, okay, is a little bit of I don't like to use the word civil war, but let's say tension within the United States government, okay, on China hawks, and I don't want to say pro-China, but economic hawks, maybe, who want that sweet Chinese lovin'. And this involves selling out Taiwan. Okay, why did Trump, who hates traveling internationally, why did he go to China right now? Who pushed him into this? Well, I feel that, first of all, you got a long trail of these American CEOs, who want to suck at the Xi Jinping's teat, but then also there's a defensive strategy, and I think that there are some American generals who are very happy that Trump went to China now. And the reason is that you can't cross the Chinese Strait in the large, the Taiwan Strait in force most of the year. The water is it's storms and typhoons and all kinds of other stuff, and you risk losing your whole freaking fleet, okay, which is what China would risk in a month or 3, April and May, and then again in the fall. There's about a 2-month window where where the water is calm enough for them to launch a major assault. If you think about it, this is the last window that China has, or had, arguably, to launch a major assault. And I have a feeling that Trump got pushed into this ultimately by generals or whoever it is on the defense side to say, hey, this is our last chance to stop China from starting this war, because this is the perfect time for them to do it. While we're bogged down in Iran, okay, we can't help Taiwan. This is the exact window when they're going to do it. If we're going to stop it, we have to stop it now. And Xi Jinping is not going to attack Taiwan. This is what I was afraid of. Is while Trump was in China, they launched the war against Taiwan. Can you imagine what that would have been like? I think that Xi Jinping was smart enough to say, let's wait till next fall. It buys us 6 months or so. That's about all it did, arguably. That's my nuanced opinion.
Yeah, that was great. That was fantastic breakdown. Great take. While James was giving us a very interesting and fantastic nuanced viewpoint, I did put in a new poll for you guys, and just for fun. It's a poll. Trump came back from Beijing with ... A, no deals for US, just Chinese vibes. B, Xi's phone number, finally. And America first means Beijing first.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, I'm voting phone number, but I actually don't think it's phone number. I think it's Xi's Insta. I think, Donnie he got tired of OnlyFans and he's like, give me your Insta,
Could be.
It's a serious relationship now.
Yeah, there's this whole I didn't have this news on my news brief, but since we're talking phone numbers and stuff, T-phone, Trump phones, a grift, surprised?
No, that's a really high quality phone.
Oh boy.
What are you saying?
Yeah,
I'm shocked and dismayed that you would insinuate.
People pre-ordered it, and what they're getting is like an old version of something, and obviously it comes from China. Yeah, and this phone, I don't think they'll be getting it for a long time, and if they are getting it, basically Trump didn't. It's not Trump phone. It's some Chinese phone that's.
Well, I mean, they did pay like something like between $100 and $500 to reserve the right to purchase the phone, not to buy the phone, not for the price of the phone, but just to reserve the right to buy the phone. So, which is great for them because now they get the opportunity to pay even more money to Trump for a golden phone, which I'm sure is
I'm
solid.
sorry, I just gotta say this. If you ordered a T-phone, a Trump phone, you are a moron.
Is that a medical term? I believe that's a medical term.
Must be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's keep going because something happened this week. A little bit better news that actually just recently that nobody's quite talking about yet, but it's going to follow Putin for the rest of his life, whatever's left of it. So, this is the war crimes ticket, Putin in the dock, basically. What was agreed was 36 countries this week formally joined a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. This tribunal is specifically focused on the decision to launch and wage this war, not just individual battlefield war crimes, but the act of starting the invasion itself. The tribunal will be headquartered in The Hague, Netherlands. The European Union is joining as an institution, not just individual member states. That is unprecedented. The next legal steps, member states now need to ratify the convention that formally establishes the tribunal and gives it legal authority. Once that ratification enters into force, prosecutors can begin issuing formal indictments, which are being called tickets. So What tickets are is tickets means indictments, formal criminal charges against specific named individuals. Those individuals include the political leaders who made the decision to launch this war and the military leaders who planned and executed the invasion, and foreign officials from any country who helped facilitate or sustain the aggression against Ukraine. So, the Troika, Putin, Lavrov, Mishustin, the sitting Russian president, foreign minister, and the prime minister, that is Putin, Lavrov, and Mishustin, have one specific protection under this tribunal's design. They cannot be tried in absentia while they're still holding those offices. They can be charged, their trials are paused, not canceled until the day they leave their position. The charges do not disappear, just the arrest warrants do not expire. This was a political compromise that some states required in order to join the projects. These guys are never leaving their posts, their jobs. Are you kidding me? But I guess some EU states are clearly scared of Russia still. Every
Crazy.
trials for everyone else, like generals, trials can start now. Every other senior Russian military, security, and political figure who does not hold one of those three specific titles can be tried in absentia starting immediately once the tribunal is operational. The likely early targets include the chief of Russian General Staff, Air Force, and missile commanders who personally oversaw strikes and on civilian targets, hospitals, schools, and apartment buildings, Security Council figures who voted to authorize and continue the invasion, and officials inside Belarus who actively facilitated Russian troops crossing Belarusian territory. So the penalties for this tribunal can impose and include life imprisonment, seizure of personal assets and property in any cooperating state. Permanent international travel bans and real arrest risks in every country where the tribunal's authority is formally recognized. I mean, this is good. I think it's coming in a little too late, and countries are still signing on to this.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, look, it is great. It's great, and needs to happen, has needed to happen, for a long time. I want to see every single Russian who is even complicit brought to justice here. That could number in the millions, though. So even if it's just a few of them, 5, 10, 20, 50, whatever, it's fantastic. And we'll take care of the rest of that justice here.
And a lot of these guys, they travel for vacation to Europe.
That's the thing. They're running around free as a bird. You go to the resort towns in Spain or Turkey or whatever, and it's full of Russians. And cities all over Europe, Hamburg and Berlin and London, and it's full of Russians. And it's like nobody's doing anything about it, and it
what's crazy, and this was recent news, that like France, also Italy, Spain, it's been uncovered, because I know France wanted this not known to the world, but it's been uncovered that France has started taking in more Russians during this war since before the war, but especially in the past years. I think it's something crazy like 500,000 Russian visas that they issued in 1 year. Are you crazy?
Well, I mean, it's the thing is it's it's complacency, like, oh, it's just business as usual. Nobody's thinking about it. Second, they're like, we like money. Oh, yeah, but what they're gonna find out is what they've let in is 500,000 potential saboteurs into their country, and when the shit hits the fan, a percentage of those people are going to become actual saboteurs. At the very least, they're going to be a drag on ultimately over the long term, a drag on the French economy, and I would argue this in every country, and the reason is not because of their DNA or something like that, because their culture of corruption that they bring with them ultimately, whether or not they're part of the mafia or whatever, their fundamental expectation of corruption, um, is what is detrimental to Western societies, and to the extent that they can be assimilated, okay, yeah, maybe. But in America, we know that in the 90s, a lot of Russian mafia came to the United States, and became sort of infamous for being the most cruel. And I've definitely heard stories of pro Russian immigrants. Yeah, it's like, why did you leave Russia in the first place? If you love it so much, go back. We've seen these protests in America where they're running around waving the Soviet flag and things, and it's
Yeah, last week for
detrimental.
Victory Day, it wasn't just in Russia. Oh no, it was in
Yeah.
Washington.
Yeah.
They had a
Yeah.
bunch of Russians come out with their. Ugh. And yeah, there was actually at the same time on purpose, Ukrainians went out there, very civil. I mean, the Russians weren't civil, but Ukrainians, held up their own. Um, but I mean, you're in America. Why? What is
Yeah. Yeah. And
happening?
it's just very important because Russians love to say, oh, it's Russophobia. You're all a bunch of Russophobes. You're racist because you don't like us. No,
Yeah.
there's a difference between prejudice and post-judice. Okay. And you can have post-judice, when you see people who are acting in a certain way. And if a Russian wants to come to another country and not support the war crimes that Putin is doing, and not participate in furthering corruption in whatever country he goes to, great. I welcome that dude with open arms. But that's a very small percentage, unfortunately.
Yeah. As I said, creatures. What needs to happen is the opposite of
Cretans.
isolation. I'm in full support of it. That is the only way how you get their mentality, which
Yeah.
has been embedded in them
Yeah.
for centuries.
Yeah. 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 Unfortunately, this is true.
All right. Do have a new poll, but I'll come
Yeah.
back to it.
All right.
This is some great news. This week, Ukraine did something quietly, but um, this is great news. It's a just combined arms operation, and a village came home back to Ukraine. Ukraine got some land back. Ukrainian forces liberated the village of Ondrantny in Kharkiv Oblast this week.
Oh, right.
The operation was led by the 129th Separate Heavy Merchandise Brigade and the
Mechanized, yeah.
16th Army Corps. Sorry about that. I butchered all of that. I'm so sorry, guys. Russian forces had been occupying that village for approximately 6 months before this operation. The liberation secured around 22 square kilometers of territory in the surrounding area. This is how they did it. This was a combined arms operation. That exact doctrinal approach Ukraine has been developing and refining since 2022. Drone and reconnaissance unit went in first to map Russian defensive position and precise detail, artillery, and mortar teams, then methodically stripped away Russian fortifications and tree line cover they were using for protection. After that, suppression, merchandise infantry advanced and cleared the trenches house by house. I don't know what I'm doing saying this to you when we have James here, but
Well,
not sure if
no,
you
I
can
mean,
talk about this.
look, this is something that you know, it's easy to talk, and I've been talking about combined arms warfare being necessary, but it has to be developed organically within Ukraine, because the previous system of combined arms warfare that Western countries had doesn't work here. You know, we're not going to come in with jets in the same way, and you know, it's just a completely different war. So this is being developed from whole cloth, from stage zero, and I would argue that, you know, the Ukrainian army had huge barriers to being able to develop this and accomplish this. Not the least of which being, you know, economic in terms of resources, but also the culture, the military culture, being based on a Soviet mindset. You know, a lot of what training there was for officers was based on Soviet training until fairly recently. You know, certainly within the lifetime most, and then you know, lack of training of officers just completely prior to the war. And so this has been a lot, and then of course, you know, they've gone to training in NATO countries, and NATO's all like, yeah, you got to develop combined arms warfare, and then they tried to implement it, and copying NATO doesn't work either. So these things, you know, the things that you just explained to me, are pieces of the puzzle that I don't necessarily have. I'm you know, I'm working on one piece of that puzzle, and I've made presentations to my commanders of like, hey, here's how things that we can do can work in conjunction with. But that's, you know, these things are above my level now. I just try to.
I'm not sure if you guys can still hear me, but it seems like my sound has cut out, and I can't hear James. I can't hear you. I don't know if it's me. Mm. Something was bound to happen at a certain point. Something always does. Um, we can okay, so we can hear Slavie, but not James. Let me message him. We... Hopefully this will work. All right, guys. Hopefully it helps. Hey, you never know. These things happen. You guys can hear me though, right? You guys can hear me? Let me know in the chat. Oh, he's right there. James, can you? No, I can't hear you. Come back. And we had such a good flow. I'm sorry, guys. All right. I need to keep an eye out for on the screen for this well for when James comes back. Right. Are you guys enjoying those the polls? I hope you are. Okay, James is coming back in.
Test.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can hear
I'm
you.
super dumb. I'm like the look. Okay, so here's my microphone. Somehow it went to mute on the microphone, and I was like trying to there's like 5 different ways to mute yourself.
That's what
And
it kind of sounded like. It was just
yeah.
like something like got like ripped out or something, and I thought it was
Yep.
like me, like my head, like.
Yep. Stupid with a capital stew. What can I say?
We had this conversation before the stream. We're like, shit happens,
Yeah.
always happens
Yeah. Normalna.
with live streams.
Yeah, I'm just not going to bump any cables right now, just in case. I don't know why. For some reason, it's not like I hit the mute button. The mute button is sitting right here on top. I didn't move my hand up around here. Anyway, it's all good now. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, wait. That was me.
Welcome back, James.
Yeah. It's okay. I wasn't saying anything useful, so.
No, you were. Oh my gosh. Always useful stuff. But I'm glad that you're back for this segment because 205 Ukrainians came home. This is great news. But let's talk about this before James will take us into the drone warfare deep dive. And let's talk about this prisoner exchange. This was part of the 1,000 for 1,000 prisoners of war exchange between Russia and Ukraine. This was what was agreed to during this ceasefire last week. And this was the first Russia and Ukraine exchange where 205 prisoners of war was exchanged this week. This exchange was the first phase of the larger 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner deal. The United States played a direct mediation role in this making, and this exchange, they made it happen. So thank you for that. The Ukrainians who came home included regular army soldiers and National Guard members and border guards. More than 50 officers were among those returned in this single group. Many of the soldiers had been held in Russian captivity for nearly 4 years. captured in the very first weeks of the 2022 invasion. Among those who came home this week were defenders of Mariupol, defenders of Azovstal, and defenders who held the area around Chernobyl in the opening days of the war.
Mm-hmm.
This is great news, especially when we know what kind of conditions and we know how Russia tortures their prisoners of war, and it's horrifying when you read some of these stories. These men that came back are lucky to be alive, and yeah, I'm just glad
And
this
you look
this
at
is
the
good news.
condition. You look at the condition that many of them are in. You see like before and after pictures of.
Yeah,
I mean, and these are long-term. You know, when you've been starved and beaten almost every single day for 4 years. I mean, all right, psychological scars aside, that leaves that you've just shortened that person's lifespan by half, maybe, in terms of the long-term effects on the body of, you know, the bones, the muscle tissue, the brain itself. There's all sorts of evidence that it's the torture is, and let's make no mistake, torture. All of these guys, it's been recorded by the UN. The UN has established it's a systematic use of torture of prisoners, and just, you know, torture in general, but torture of prisoners. 3 of my own commanders in Azov, my battalion's first commander and currently uh, uh, head of the battalion and deputy commander, were also prisoners and were exchanged in such a way. And they are amazing guys, all of them. Remarkably, like, I mean, you can see the pain that they went through. You can see the PTSD that they have survived, and the psychological scars that has. But at the same time, remarkably human for all that, and somehow kind and compassionate and understanding. Just a little bit surprising, you know, in someone who's been held in prison and tortured in that way. I'm not sure that I would be. Um, I'm not. I mean, I might be like eye for an eye. You know, let's go out and commit war crimes ourselves, do what they did to us. You know, but I don't see I don't see that too much. So you know, I have I guess personal experience with this. So yeah, and I feel like a lot of the Russian prisoners, I see the videos of them, and they get treated pretty well. They put on weight, you know, 3 square meals a day, and you know, easy jobs to do, something to keep them busy, and you know,
yeah. Well, there was a quote. Somebody said it. I forget who, but a journalist. And he said that the worst thing that could happen to Russian prisoners of war is that they may not get meat in their borscht.
whoop-de-doo. Well, guess that's like half of Ukraine, actually. I mean, sometimes I don't get meat in my borscht, you know, or maybe it's like one little piece, you know. Jesus Christ.
Tragedy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. At least they get borscht and not, what's the Russian, that their crappy soup, shi or something. You know, the Russian version of borscht is called shit. Shit.
Shit.
Close, yeah.
I'm not
Borscht
surprised.
borscht is Ukrainian, shi is
Yeah.
Russian. That's what Starsky says anyway. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I don't know Russian cuisine, but sounds
Yeah.
sounds right. All right, James, we are going to get into your segment
Awesome.
next.
Well, I think what I'd like to do, if you'll allow me, is I'd like to introduce your viewers. If you haven't, please go and support my battalion. That's the Azov International Battalion. So that's 12th Special Purpose Group Brigade, 3rd International Battalion of the 1st Azov Corps. And you can do that by going to the website that you see on your screen. It's whyukraine.com, and the first link there, that's my website, but the first link there will take you to the payment for Azov International that goes directly to support us for all of our needs for the battalion. And you can actually get there if you go directly to there's also a link on my page for Azov.international. You can go that way, and then there's a support button. And either way, I don't care. Please listen. It's a really important thing I was explaining to Slavie before the show. Azov being part of the National Guard of Ukraine. I don't know if you can see that on my chest there. We don't get the same kind of funding. We're more like kind of like technically part of the police force, or in America it would be like Department of Homeland Security. Okay. So we don't get the same kind of funding. A lot of this funding you might hear about coming into Ukraine for the Ministry of Defense doesn't trickle down to us, unfortunately. And Azov relies still much more on donations, both internally and externally. So you guys, I have this whole freaking drone laboratory that we're going to talk about. It's all been funded by your guys' donations. So if you go to this whyukraine.com, you can click on that. And I just appreciate it tremendously. And I hope some of the guys in my battalion are watching or watch this later and know that, there are people internationally who support us and the work that we're doing, the foreign fighters who are here. Our international battalion is about 50% Ukrainian, 50% guys from other, that's my estimate, 50% guys from countries all over the world. South Africa, France, Norway, America, obviously, Canada, Mexico, I mean, just name it, and we're all here fighting for the same cause and the same reason. So I really appreciate that from all of you. So дуже дякую.
Amazing. Also, in the live chat right now, the mods have the link. And if you're watching this later, the link is also already in the show notes. So if you could please help out James and Ukrainian defenders defend freedom and democracy. Because
really
this affects all of us in the Western civilized world. So
with that done, ask away.
Yes, let's move on to, this is a segment I was really excited about, the James's segment. He's going to tell you things that maybe you have not heard of anywhere else. We are getting an exclusive with James somewhere where this has not been seen on any other channels. So excited for that. This is not just, wait, hold on. Ukraine is doing something extraordinary right now, and James is going to explain it because he's part of that. And there are two news that I wanted to discuss. One of them on the reusable suicide drones. So the suicide drones aren't so suicidal anymore. And also how Ukraine has been weaponizing westerlies, which is winds, Mother Nature, with balloons and drones. So, James, do you want to talk about the reusable, not so suicidal drones?
Okay. So, right. So what Ukraine has, I mean, bomber drones have been available for a long time. But what we're trying to do is okay, so I was talking with one of my previous commanders before I joined Azov, and they have a fixed wing. It's a fixed wing bomber drone. So all right, so there's different types of, we call them suicide drones or kamikaze drones. Okay, there's FPVs. Okay, and then there's fixed wing. Okay, and they have so the Millennia is a Russian version of that, except the Russians also have been developing these millennias to be like not so suicidal. In other words, they serve a purpose. They conduct reconnaissance. They also can act as motherships, bringing in extra FPVs, for example. And so Ukraine is also developing that, right? But this versions of this have been around for a while. That what they'll do is drop some munitions or drop off FPVs, okay, and then go in and do an attack. Okay, so it's more like they're conducting multiple missions, is what I would say, at the same time. So, I mean, just for an example, if you go to, well, I don't know, can I share this? Zli Tahi, yeah. Okay, can I share my screen? Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You can share it.
Yeah.
It should be at the bottom of your screen.
Yep. Great. So this is a, not I don't want to speak too much about technology that I'm not directly involved with, but I was directly involved with this. So this is a fixed wing, actually a bomber drone. This is one of the earliest ones to be developed, and so it delivers these like 80 millimeter. Actually, it's mainly what we used. Mortar rounds, okay, and it flies like a pre-programmed route, and as you can see here, it's striking like logistics areas. Now this is early days. This is from more than a year ago, so our accuracy wasn't what it is now. So essentially, when we say reusable kamikaze, what we're really talking about is the evolution of, if you think about like planes in World War One, okay, which started off with just doing reconnaissance, and then,
By the way, that camera is amazing. Whatever they're using is the picture is quality.
Yeah. This is it's a major expense on these drones, basically. And so one of my jobs was to find these like logistics sites that you see here in my first unit, and then because they're flying a pre-programmed route, and in this case with our drones, when I was working on these drones, we wouldn't see the video, the footage, until the drone came back. Okay. Now the newer, these reusable kamikazes are in some cases able to send live footage back, and that's like what the Millennia does, for example. They're still in many cases using GPS, but there's other sensors and other systems that can replace GPS when it gets spoofed. At the time, more than a year ago, when I was working on it, was GPS spoofing was a major problem, and that I worked on engineering solutions for. And now it's just so much more sophisticated. So I think calling them, reusable kamikaze is more like really more like calling them they're bombers now. They're bomber drones. And It's interesting. I was talking to the commander of this unit literally just a few hours ago, and he's saying, yeah, these are actually incredibly valuable now. We were ahead of the curve, way ahead of the curve. So I think it's Firepoint that's making these drones now, but they're carrying rockets. actually. So yeah, they're using the same platform, okay, for what was kamikazes, but then they rather than doing bombs, they're carrying they're we're going to see a lot more of this. We're just going to see a lot more. In the
And
case
this
the
also
yeah
kind of stretches out Ukraine's kind of limited drone production budget. When the drone lasts longer, its lifespan, when it can come back from doing mission, this is good because Ukraine
yeah
can make in that time frame can make even more drones.
yeah, and this is
They're
also true with FPVs as well. Um, just keep in mind that there's a certain floor there. Making a drone kamikaze is a lot simpler and easier and cheaper. So making it bomb or rocket or multi-purpose is always going to add cost. Okay. Um, and you got the camera thing. You got to have different systems that handle whether it's guaranteeing that the bomb hits the location or that the rocket hits its target. There's got to be systems for that. So there is kind of a trade-off. There's a little bit of a law of diminishing returns as well, because you have to have more battery, right? Because you're doing double the trip. So you're going to do a round trip, right? Maybe 100 kilometers one direction and 100 kilometers back, or 50, 60 kilometers, so there's a little bit of a law of diminishing returns. It's not always a kamikaze drone is going to be cheaper per unit. But if you get to use it 5, 10, 25 times, well, that, I think there's evidence from the, or maybe it was Madyar saying that the cost per Russian casualty is like $800 something with these drones. So anything we do that extends the life of the overall drone system lowers that cost. And this is a war of attrition. This is a war of resources. So, yeah.
beautifully put. I love that.
But doing this, though, requires more experienced pilots and better control systems. So dropping a bomb from one of these things, one of these moving drones, or hitting a target as your fixed wing drone is moving is incredibly difficult. There's a lot of math, a lot of freaking trigonometry, all this stuff. So it adds a lot. When you can just steer a drone right into a target, that is a lot easier than trying to hit a target with a separate weapon system. It really changes the game. So,
wow, so interesting. I know we do have a couple of questions coming up, but before we do, we'll do questions after this drone segment. But I want to talk, before we get into this next news, I want to explain what Westerlies are, because it matters in this next story. The
Westerlies.
Westerlies are prevailing wind patterns across the mid latitudes of Earth, which roughly 30 to 60 degrees north. They blow west to east consistently and reliably, and Ukraine sits right in the middle of that wind band, which means naturally the wind blows from Ukraine into Russia. And Ukraine looked at that and turned weather into a weapons system. So Ukraine has launched more than 1,000 helium balloons towards Russia. Balloons carry radar decoys, cameras, explosive, small drones, and communication relays. They ride the prevailing west to east westerly winds deep into Russia airspace, no engine needed. And balloons are cheap, hard to detect. I'll show you what it looks like, and can fly very, very high. Impact is that Russia fires expensive missiles at $100 to $500 balloons. Each balloon that draws an S-300 or S-400 shot in a massive cost win for Ukraine. Some balloons carry repeaters, so Ukrainian operators can control drones much deeper inside Russia.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So, yeah, James, do you want to talk
Sure.
about?
Sure. As I was saying earlier, so I showed you guys that drone that I was working on with my previous battalion, and we were looking at ways to do exactly this, to extend that range. And so I was working with several different companies, consulting with them, Aero, Bavnova, some other ones that I can't mention. They were top secret. Both Ukrainian and like with foreign, American or other Canadian companies coming over and working on different solutions. And I haven't spoken to them in just about a year, because obviously it changed missions coming to a different unit. But this is something that they were all working on. Okay, and I have been pretty much mum about it. So it's nice to be able to talk about it now that it's basically public knowledge. So it's great. I was going to them saying, "Hey, this is something that we need," because we were looking at for our for the drone that you just saw with Zliptahi. We were looking at ways to be able to punch through the electronic warfare systems, to provide decoys to stop drones from being shot down. So yeah, as you can see actually in the drone that the balloon rather that you're looking at here. All right, so here's some problems. If we talk about an aerostat, okay, an aerostat is a balloon that is tethered. Stat meaning static, okay, stays in the same place. At least that's my understanding. The problem is they can't, okay, because there's wind and the wind's always blowing them down. Okay, so if you've got a balloon that's up in the sky, I'm going to use this bottle cap as an example. Here's your balloon. Okay, it's tethered to the ground. All right, the westerlies are blowing this way. The balloon's up 500 meters, 1,000 meters. What's going to happen? The balloon is going to get pushed down to the ground because it's tethered here. So it's going to inevitably, that's not going to work. So you've got to have something. It's great to have wind, fine, but you've got to have something pushing back against that wind. So if you look at that picture, if you want, I don't know if you can show that screen again, Slavie.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I can safely talk about this now based on the picture that you see there. There's a drone under the balloon. Okay, effectively, I think that's what that is. If you're gonna have an aerostat,
I see the drone in the balloon, or is
yeah.
that under it?
Well, okay, for an aerostat, that's what you got to have. You have to have something pushing. If you want the balloon to stay in place where the wind is blowing this way, you got to have something pushing back against it to maintain that stability. Effectively, then what
is it this like some kind of heavy weight?
No,
here?
that's the quote unquote payload. Okay,
Okay.
So effectively, what this means is now that this might be, I don't know from the picture, I don't know if this might be one that's actually carrying. If you want to have your balloon travel along those westerlies that go, from west or east, then you're fine. You don't need necessarily to have something pushing back against the wind, but it also helps. Okay, it also helps to provide some direction, to have some control, because these westerly winds are pushing kind of willy-nilly. You don't have a lot of control. Now, there are, so what are the purpose of these things? First of all, I know more than a year ago, both Russia was also using balloons along the border, and even had some flying over Kyiv, but the wind mostly again works against that. So I know for a fact that last year these balloons were all ready. It's just now they're doing it. There was kind of like test flights. Now they're doing it en masse. As the articles have said, it's up to about 30 kilograms, and they can travel very deep, like hundreds of kilometers.
And it's very,
And
very hard to shoot them down because it's hard to see them. They're see-through. And
well, yeah,
yeah,
so to the naked eye they can be see-through, but depending on the material that they're made of, they can actually be detected on radar very easily, which the purpose of doing that is if you're shooting balloons down, it means you're not shooting drones down, right?
well,
So
yeah,
that's
that exactly like what I said like in the
yep,
breakdown from the news
yep.
brief that I mean either they're $100 or $500 balloons that Russia is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars shooting down.
Yeah, and also, yeah, somebody asked about this hydrogen or helium, um, and unfortunately, all the ones that I know of are working with helium, and that
Yeah,
is a
that's what I read. Helium as well.
yeah, yeah. Hydrogen comes with its own whole big set of problems. Not the least of which is the explosiveness of hydrogen, but also it's an even smaller uh, atom, or technically it's H2, so it's a molecule, but it they don't last as long. It slips through the fabric or the plastic much more quickly than helium. Um, so yeah, there is expense is an issue. But hey, look, this war is expensive, man. And Ukraine does have its own sources of helium. So, what are you gonna? Would you rather get shot down, um, a, a drone or a balloon? Ultimately, um, now the other thing is they are able to carry these payloads of like up to 30 kilograms, and why 30 kilograms, right? Because there's a trade-off between the expense of how big of a balloon you can have, how much helium you can have, versus how much payload you can carry and what the distance is. So that's some math that they've sort of factored in. Are we going to see this as a regular occurrence? That's a good question. I think it may be that Ukraine was kind of saving up for this, to make sure that the maximum number of Ukraine's drones got through Russian air defenses. Um, the balloons also uh, can carry like reflectors, radar reflectors that confuse enemy radar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh,
that's
that's
that's a
great.
big deal. You know, so the 30 kilograms might not be an explosive payload. It might just be uh, batteries for the. I mean, they can essentially act like motherships for drones, but also batteries for the directional control. Um, and yeah, so yeah, I think it's awesome. I love the aerostat thing, and using them. I think one of the most important things though is using these things as repeaters, because Russia, one of the because the Shaheds don't have Starlink so much anymore, so they have developed alternative systems. One of those is essentially a mesh network modem. So you have in some cases 10, 15, 20 Shaheds flying in a line, and the they're controlled like an FPV. And so the Shahed at the front is hopping along the network that all the way back to a tower in Russia, and that increases the latency, reduces the effectiveness of the targeting, the ability of the Shahed pilots to target. Um, if these balloons are flying and they're essentially doing the same thing, they're acting as repeaters. Okay, they can reduce that latency and make the drones more effective at targeting and punching through um, Russian electronic warfare. So it's awesome. Major defense. Yeah, the helium thing sucks, but there you have
I
it.
think we're going to see some epic things coming from Ukraine this summer. And this is
I hope
coming
so.
from just my own ideas that there might be something equivalent to spider web. situation.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
But yes, that's what I'm saying. Just coming from my own um, ideas. James, we do have a bunch of questions that
Mm. Yeah, I
the
saw a
audience
couple
has
of them.
asked. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll read them to you and then
Great.
you answer. So SSW Custom Sewing asked why Ukraine, or can you share anything about retired tradespeople like blacksmiths, electricians, mechanics, etc., and how they help build the drones?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my laboratory, my senior engineer in the laboratory basically is handling day-to-day operations now. He was an electrician and mechanic in his previous career. Also trained in some computer networking and 3D 3D printing and all of that. It's been a tremendous help. Oh my God, there's been times when, oh my God, in our first laboratory when we were setting it up, we had 3 or 4 electrical fires. You know, the whole place would have burned down, even the ballroom. You know, no way could we have done it, and we had to run all new electrical wiring, which was a massive expense. And it's one of those things that when you need it, you need it. Now I don't have time to put it on the website. I just gotta go buy a bunch of electrical wire and an inverter and a bunch of huge freaking battery backup systems. Wouldn't have been able to, but also that base level of knowledge has helped just tremendously. It makes it much faster to learn all of the things that you need to learn for drones. My immediate commander, his background experience is as a jeweler. Okay. But what does a jeweler do? Well, modern jewelers work with 3D printers a lot, but also, very small things, right? Like, soldering and all that type of stuff. All of those skills sort of, transfer over. So yeah, a lot of those trade skills definitely work. We're all kind of new to drones in one degree or another. Getting somebody in who is like, I've done drones for 10 years and that's all I know is extremely rare. Extremely rare. So we're all taking other skills. I'm a network and systems engineer and did computer hardware troubleshooting and that type of stuff for years and years. And like decades. So I have that skill to draw on, and so even if I don't understand it, when I didn't understand everything about drones, I'm still learning every day. I draw from that background knowledge, and it has been tremendously helpful.
Absolutely. James, the real Vladimir Putin asks, James, is Ukraine using rubber propellers on their drones? Wouldn't you like to know that, Putin?
No. Not to my knowledge. They're plastic. They're high. They have to be a certain level of strength. You can't just 3D print propellers. I know people have tried. I think we did at one point, just for shits and giggles, tried to 3D print a propeller in the lab, and it failed miserably. It's has to be pretty high pressure molded plastic. Now there was a trend for a while of people toroidal drone propellers, which basically the propeller themselves, instead of sticking out this way like 3 of them, it made like a loop. Okay. And the experiments were saying this reduced the sound, but my experience is that the decibel reduction is not significant enough to make up for the loss in power efficiency. So yeah, we do 3D print some. I can't remember the name of the plastic, but it's like a rubber flexible plastic. We do 3D print some parts with that, but they're for specialized functions where we need flexibility.
Yep. SSW Custom Sewing is asking, James, can you share anything about the amateur radio, aka ham community of Ukraine, and how they're helping out? Thank you.
Yeah, early on in the war, it was, that saved Ukraine's bacon, honestly, because they were using, it's not just ham community, it's SDR, so software defined radio systems, and people were picking up throughout all the way through 22, even into 23, picking up Russian communications, and just listening to them, unencrypted communications. And that still is happening, absolutely happening on the battlefield. But now it's become more systematized. It's become more systematic. We have purpose-built radio communication systems for that. So it's not as ad hoc. There are whole departments within brigades who that's all they do now. So it's not, at the beginning of the war, it was like volunteers just ad hoc contributing whatever they could. Now it's been much more integrated into the whole intelligence system of the Ukrainian army. So those ham radio operators and things, they're still very valuable, but they're serving in the army, doing stuff.
There was a news about like 2 weeks ago that Ukrainian defenders hacked into the Russian military system of the students, like Russian military students.
Yep.
Of some university, and well, they said if you come to Ukraine, you're gonna die.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you see like all the like in the Russian university just like running around trying to like turn it off. Oh, it was great. It was a great troll.
Yeah, so a lot of these, that's not like a volunteer group. It's not just a random hacker. They're now integrated much more into the system, into the Ukrainian armed forces in various ways. So it's not as ad hoc as it was, which is good.
All right. We have next question from Salt of the Red Earth. She's asking, James, do you have any info about Aurora 26 that just wrapped in Sweden?
I did not know that my brigade was participating. I read it in the news just as much as you do. I'm in, one battalion. There are other parts. Azov Corps is large and getting larger. So I didn't know until I read it in the news. Like I'm not privy to everything. But I do know, looking at the technology that they were using, they weren't using like anything like top secret or the top best whatever. Okay, they were just using regular stuff. I mean, they were using repeaters. Okay, it's some repeater drones on different frequencies, and not anything like this, the top secret stuff that is still coming out, or like these. It's just a regular FPV team doing what a regular FPV team does. So the fact that they had to stop the war games like 6 times or something because the Ukrainians had already wiped out the whole Swedish team or whatever. So I think one guy that is a YouTuber, Pasha, I think, Pasha UA, if you know that YouTube channel, he was there. Pictures of him meeting like the Swedish queen or princess or something. That was pretty cool, But yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's like we're not even getting out the good stuff here, and we're mopping the floor with you, So should be a big wake up call. Big wake up call.
And also, we have one more question, and it's to both James and me. Did you notice she trolled Trump? She said he would send a gift of rose seeds. 1, roses don't grow from seeds, and 2, no rose garden to plant them in.
Oh, sick burn.
I mean, yeah, great burn. I don't think even after explaining to Trump, what had happened, that he would even care or be like, "Nah," given that he
it's
literally
all over
sold.
his head. There's not a lot of nuance in that.
Yeah, like
Under that
given that he
orange.
literally, I mean, she said that United States is a declining nation, and Trump was like, "Yeah, it is." So I don't think he would really. It's not something. It might work on a more like smarter, sharper person, but not Trump. Doesn't give a
Yeah,
shit
I
about
mean,
that.
yeah. That's exactly.
Yep. Oh yeah, one more question from Mitch Ashdown. He's asking, did fiber optic cable come down in price any this week, James?
You know what? I'm seeing it. Last I saw it was 30. I think I looked yesterday, but I'm gonna check again today. I'm gonna check right now. Fiber op. Let's see. Thick 50 km. See what we got. Oh, good God. Oh, I'm terrified. All right, 50 kilometers, 123,000 UAH. What about this one? I don't think this is a full. Oh, 50 kilometers. Oh, I see one for 85,000 grivnas. Let's see. I can't convert that in my head into dollars. Let's see. 85. No. Oh, yeah, it's come all the way down to $1,921 for 50 kilometers of fiber. At least on this one particular supplier. So yeah. I think I might have found one for 65,000. I'm constantly checking. Okay, let's see what's 65. This might be the cheapest. Aha, $1,400 for 50 kilometers. So that's good, but no, it's all over the place right now because supply chains take a while to change. I can tell you, I'm also speaking obviously with Chinese suppliers directly, and they're telling me they're telling me $32 dollars per kilometer, but remember that takes like 6 weeks to get here. So I'm checking prices here in Ukraine, and it's still crazy town. So, yay. Yay.
I am adding a new poll. I need more time to do these polls, to write these polls, but
Yeah.
the polls help with getting the stream out there. The algorithm really likes it
really?
when
Yeah, I never do polls.
they're really, it's really good, and it
Yeah.
really works. Because the more clicks the stream gets, the better. While I was doing that, I accidentally deleted my link from the video. If
Nice.
one of the moderators can help me out and put the link from my video in the chat, no, I will pin it. Thank you so much. Also got a request to read the poll, our previous poll, and it was, will Putin ever actually face trial? A was no, he will die in his bunker, 45%. B, only if Russia collapses from the inside, 40%. And C, yes, like Nuremberg, 10%. And D, ask me again in 10 years, only 5%. I want to know who these 5% is.
I think some people just like the irony,
Yeah. What did you vote, James, on that one?
What did I vote? What was the one above the ask me again in 10 years?
Yes, like Nuremberg.
Yeah, that might have been. Oh no, I voted it's only going to happen when Russia collapses internally. And that is actually what I believe. Is Russia is going to have to collapse internally, and for any of these, war criminals to be brought to justice. So
Yeah, I'd agree. If I could vote, it would be B, only if Russia collapses from the inside.
yeah, sadly,
And
no, because
it's gonna
nobody,
happen.
nobody wants to launch a land war in Asia to take back to take back all these Russian war criminals, so they can just go hide out in Siberia until until the Siberians themselves say, all right, we're going to hand these guys over to the authorities, which will require a collapse.
All right. Well, let's keep going because time is running out and we still have things to cover.
Oh, man. Yeah.
As promised. But so just a re-update of what we just talked about. Ukraine launched 1,000 helium balloons into Russia. Russia responded with $1 million missiles. Every balloon that gets shot down drains Russia's air defense budget, depletes the missiles that were protecting Russian cities, and opens corridors for the real drones. This is what innovation under fire looks like.
That's right.
James,
That's right.
would you like to add anything more before we wrap on this segment on the drones?
Yeah, no, I just I'm glad to see it in development, and I I hope, I would like to think that my early consultations with some of these companies, to point them in the right direction. I actually had long consultations with some of them about like what was needed to do some of the things that they're doing now. So maybe I had a positive effect with them in that way. So I'd like to hope. I think it's great. I think it'll be interesting to see if it continues, as someone said about the cost of helium and all of that sort of stuff. But I think what we might see is for these big, drone counterattacks that Ukraine does, I think Ukraine will kind of save up the balloons for the big things rather than, kind of doing onesie twosie. That would be the right strategy to use. Oh, somebody asked if I have a YouTube channel. Yes, I do. You'll never guess what it's called. It's called Why Ukraine. It's not very good. I'm sorry to say, Ross. It's, I'm a network and drone engineer. I'm not a,
it's the
dragged kicking and
information
screaming.
that they give us that counts.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. And guys, yes, please subscribe to James's channel. Help him out.
Yeah.
That would be
please.
great. I think
Please,
the mods can help us out and put his at handle in the chat.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
I also have it in the show notes already. So if you're watching this afterwards, just look at the show notes. It's already there.
Yeah,
so
great. I do live streams when I can, and I've been, it's like I get really busy. When you don't see me, that's when I'm doing, amazing work in the lab. And then I pop up for air and I put out a bunch of shorts and a bunch of live streams, and I have to go back under for a few months. That's how it works. Thank you, Broadcast Cat.
Sorry, just give me a second. I keep talking for a second.
Well, yeah, the one thing I can do is encourage people, if you can't, if you don't have a buck to donate or what have you on the Why Ukraine site, totally understand that. One way you can contribute is by sharing that donation site or the YouTube channel. If you find one of my shorts, short videos, I mean, that you find interesting, share it with your friends. Go in there, comment. Obviously, the like and subscribe. Again, like Slavie was saying, this is a hybrid war. Information warfare is a part of this, and I get every time I have one of my bursts of activity on my YouTube channel, it's amazing. My small little YouTube channel gets hit with trolls and they come in and they comment. And most recently, because I've been showing videos of Bakhmut and videos from Kramatorsk and Donbass in general. And I've got Russian trolls coming in there and going, Bakhmut is Russia and Donetsk, Donbass is Russia. And it's like, you guys are you gonna stop? Like, you think you're you think you're helping your cause? You're not. I'm gonna go in there, report you for promoting terrorism. Okay, first I'm gonna insult you, then I'm gonna report you. You know, and
You
I'm
know
gonna
what?
block you from my channel. There you go.
I got hate mail this week, and I
Oh,
think I
nice.
officially made it when you get hate
Hell
mail.
yeah.
It looked like it was from I think it was some kind of manga person. It
Yeah.
must have been. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, there was like quite a few of like from the same person emails, and
Mhm.
it was like, you Nazi, blah, 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 blah.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, I blocked him and then, but it's actually interesting. He sent me like a bunch of links to like Rumble and this and that. I'm like,
Oh, so this was like maybe like an American or somebody
yeah,
then,
yeah,
or
yeah.
sending links to Rumble.
Yeah,
That's
links to
wild.
Rumble. Like, of course, I didn't click any of them, but like there was like this PDF like breakdowns of like alternative information, basically,
Oh
and
yeah,
just
one of
all the
those
Russian
whack jobs.
propaganda.
Probably a flurfer too. You know
Yeah.
what a flurf? You know what a flurfer is? It's a flat Earth conspiracy theorist guy. They call them
Yeah,
flurfs.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I actually early on in the war, when before I had the YouTube channel thing going, I was mainly on Facebook, and I uh, almost had my Facebook hacked. Came pretty close. I had a hacker trace my actual home computer network, and of course that doesn't fly with me. I traced him right back. Turned out he was a kid in Brazil, actually, um, pro-Russian kid in Brazil for whatever reason. But he wrote me a poem, an actual poem. It was amazing. It was actually a really good poem. It was like, could have been like a death metal song or something. I don't remember what it exactly, but somewhere I have it saved because it was so good. It was like, and you're the dying light in your eyes when you find your own death and all of this. And I was like, it was like playing air guitar as I read it. It was great. I told him, I said, listen, you missed your calling. You need to stop this hacking keyboard warrior stuff. You need to be writing music, dude. You know?
All
I can't
right.
remember what city he lived in Brazil, but yeah.
Before we get into the last segment where we
Mm.
discuss the Tucker Carlson interview,
Oh God.
I just would like to remind you guys I have a new video that came out a couple of days ago. It is pinned in the chat, so if you guys can check it out after the live stream,
Mm.
it's part of a new series that start World at War, and hopefully it goes well. And I will do much more of these videos, but it covers the 1676, the Zaporozhian Cossacks. There is the letter that broke the empire, basically, and there's art history in there, culture, and yes, a lot of talk of the Cossacks. And I connected all of it back to Zelensky and
Wow.
modern, like to last weekend's parade
Well,
and
I'll
what
go
happened
watch it
with
now.
that.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, no, stay here. We need you. But
Oh, okay,
afterwards,
okay. Okay.
afterwards, yes, you guys should go watch it. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It's not like my usual stuff. So it's something that I've been wanting to work on for a very long time, to do kind of a documentary style kind of vibes, and connect it to real time news as well. And if you've seen last week's live streams that we did with James, James was here. I do have that as the thumbnail as well. That painting by
Oh
Ilya
yeah,
Repin.
it's awesome. I loved it.
Guys, that's probably one of my best works. That thumbnail is a piece of work, piece of art, that's for sure. But I mean, I really like it. So make sure to check it out. And I do talk a lot about Zelensky and how he's a um, brilliant man, brilliant
Mm.
leader, brilliant show.
Mm.
Unlike what brings me to this interview
Ugh.
that uh, Tucker Carlson did with the C word Julia Mendel.
Yeah.
Uh, let's cover who is she.
Yeah,
This
because I don't know
woman.
anything about this lady. I was like coming out
Well,
of the woodwork.
she's been kind of. So Julia Mendel is a Ukrainian journalist and former press secretary to President Zelensky
Mm.
from a while ago. While she worked for him, she publicly praised his leadership on multiple occasions
She had a
and
book. She had a
even wrote a
book.
book. Exactly. Wrote an entire support, love letter, if I would say, in a book form in support of his presidency. And yeah, this week she appeared on Tucker Carlson's show and made accusations against Zelensky that closely mirrored what Russian state propaganda has been saying since 2022. There's nothing new. Um, the interview was recorded, by the way, wasn't recent. This was approximately 7 months ago and was released publicly just this week.
Wild.
The
Weird.
title of the interview is Zelensky's press secretary reveals all, cocaine covers up, and only option for peace. Tucker Carlson released it specifically during the week that Trump is meeting Xi in Beijing and Russia is launching its largest drone assault of the war at the exact moment when Western support for Ukraine is most visible and most politically vulnerable. That timing is not a coincidence. For Moscow, this is the optimal moment to sow doubt about Zelensky and in an American audience. So this is what she claimed. She calls Zelensky a dictator, paranoid, and the greatest obstacle to peace. She says Zelensky is evil and destroys people and frames him as morally equivalent to Putin. She claims, I can't even say this with a straight face. Whew. Okay, she claims Zelensky is likely addicted to cocaine or some other substance.
Literally just repeating Putin's propaganda. How much is
Yeah,
she getting paid?
it's a good question. I think she's getting paid in staying in United States as a refugee
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure Ukraine is going to treat her as a traitor.
Persona non
This,
grata at the very least.
yeah. So then she also described a scene involving a bag of dollars on a table and uses it to imply personal corruption. She claims Zelensky was privately willing to give up Ukrainian territory. She hints at supposed secret communications between Putin and Zelensky and frames them as something suspicious to hide. All right. Well, let me debunk some of it. It's so ridiculous, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
On the dictator claim, Ukraine still has a functioning parliament and functioning judiciary and independent media that openly criticizes the government,
A
martial
lot.
law, and postponed elections during active war are standard practice internationally and are specifically permitted under Ukraine's constitution. Guys, Ukraine has more free speech than we do in the United States.
Seriously. And the martial law is not very martial, to be honest with you. It's not like when I think of like martial law in if it was in America, like it's like full on lockdown, man. And we as I in the army, we don't have the private citizens have a lot of power. I mean, I have to pay rent for my apartment, for my laboratory. If it was real martial law, the military ought to be able to just come in and say, "Look, our military guys are staying here, and our lab is going to be here. And you want to argue about it? Too bad. It's martial law, you know."
Yeah.
But that's not it. Okay, so sorry, Slavie.
Oh, it's okay.
Get
This
on my
is
high horse.
upsetting. Zelensky publicly stated peace plan, and that peace plan never changed. Full withdrawal of all Russian troops from all Ukrainian territory, including Crimea, and the restoration of Ukraine's internationally recognized borders. That has always been it. On the drug use claim, she offers zero proof, no drug
Yeah.
tests, no documents, no verified incidents, no named witnesses, just some kind of sources that she has. She did not mention any of this while she was actively working for him or when she published her book
Seriously.
praising his leadership.
Seriously, where was? Why didn't you talk about it then? You know,
Yeah. And the coked up comedian narrative matches exactly and precisely the Kremlin talking point
literally.
the Russian state media has been running since the day the full scale started.
Now, she was well
And
coached, but she's a lousy actress.
yeah, by the way, even if he did, he was a movie star. Even if he did, so what? Like everyone
Oh,
at some
back in the
certain point does.
day, you know.
Like
Come
I'm
on.
just saying, who cares? He was a
Listen,
huge movie star. Like
the thing I would say about it is that the rest of the world outside of Ukraine, to them, because all they know about Ukraine is Zelensky to most people.
yeah,
Right.
yes.
So
Mhm.
so to them it's like, oh my gosh, Zelensky, he's amazing, he's great. Most Ukrainians here in Ukraine are kind of like, oh, Zelensky. I mean, look, if Zelensky, you snap your fingers and Zelensky disappears, this war would not stop. If Zelensky did something to try and give up land, give up territory, to surrender in any way, I still know Ukrainians who are suspicious about Zelensky. Like, oh, I think he's gonna
Yeah.
turn it over to Putin.
First of all,
He's not
Zelensky
the
can't
hero.
legally make a decision to give up territory. He needs like government approval. He needs to go through the parliament. It's not just his and his decision alone. And even if he tried, he would be at the stake right now. Have you seen
He would
Euromaidan? What happened?
10 minutes, he'd be run out on his ear.
His head would be on a stake.
Seriously. I mean, it's not to say, look, there are plenty of Zradniki in Ukraine, and maybe 5%, okay, of Ukrainians. You got old people who grew up in the USSR they still listen to Russian media, and young people, people who are cowards, hooligans, who, I mean, in the army, I've met them. Very, very rare. Okay, in my old unit, I had one guy who he was like maybe 30, and he believed all kinds of Russian propaganda. He was serving in the intelligence department, and I reported him myself to the SBU. I was like, this guy is bad, but it's like he was still serving because they didn't have anybody else. They were like, we really need this guy, but they just keep a really close watch on they're there, they exist, but ultimately it's a smaller and smaller percentage of the population. Every single time one of these major Russian missile strikes kills 25 people in an apartment complex, all those people have relatives, have grandmas and aunts and uncles, older generation people who maybe they kind of they're not going to be anymore. So we keep seeing these types of the long arm of the FSB, the Russian KGB, is insidious and has been for a long time in Ukraine, and that's why Russia thought that they were going to succeed, because they thought that their influence was greater than it was. But most Ukrainians, 90% of Ukrainians, look at this late girl and she's like, this is just a freak. She's a freak. She's a traitor. She's never going to be able to return to her home country. Ever.
Yes, and I do have some notes on that as well, on her returning. But also, what she said on corruption, her own words in the interview include the line, if Zelensky knows about this, then this is not corruption, which directly undermines her own corruption accusation before she finishes making it. On the moral equivalence of Putin, Vladimir Putin started a war of territorial conquest, has personally ordered the bombing of hospitals and schools, and is currently the subject of an ICC arrest warrant for war crimes, including the forced deportation of Ukrainian children. You're comparing Zelensky with him?
Yeah.
When the United States government offered to evacuate him from Kyiv in the first hours of the invasion, he refused. He stayed. He leads a country defending itself from an illegal invasion. Equating these two men is a deliberate rhetorical strategy designed to make Western audiences feel that there's no good guys here and that supporting Ukraine is therefore pointless.
Yep. It's the same thing I get from Russian trolls coming into my live streams all the time saying, "Oh, Ukraine is corrupt." And Russia's corrupt, but Ukraine's just as corrupt. And that there is no moral equivalency there. First of all, every time you hear about a corruption scandal in Ukraine, it's a good thing because Ukraine is raising itself on that anti-corruption index. And I will say though that it's so potentially poisonous though. Here in Ukraine, there's such a stigma. It's a good thing. There's such a stigma against corruption, especially with younger people. Major stigma. But the accusations that occur within organizations and even within military units over corruption are often just as bad in terms of shooting the organization in its foot. And I've seen that tear different organizations apart, just people pointing fingers. And but like I said, it's such a major stigma here in Ukraine. I'm sure that there is, but look at America. You want to talk about corruption? I tell this to Ukrainians all the time because Ukrainians always say, "Oh, our country is so corrupt." I'm like, have you seen Donald Trump? Have you seen America these days? Like, what's going on here, people? We have an order of magnitude greater corruption, several orders of magnitude. The Ukrainian corruption, by comparison, is petty, incredibly petty. And they're
And
working
Ukraine
on
is actively, it has agencies that are actively, they're controlling it. And I mean, like, what's the United States doing? Just more corruption and like we're not. Department of Defense is like fucking around, like doing fuck all. Like
yeah, it's not going to change the facts of this war. The fact that Russia is committing horrible war crimes in an illegal war, an attempted genocide, an attempted genocide, cultural genocide, and you can't have a moral equivalency there. Okay, as simple as that.
My take on this is that why she did this is she's a scorned, like she used to be in love with Zelensky.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was just gonna say that. I'm glad you said it because I thought it would come off bad. No, I really think hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and I really think she had the hots. She was saying things in there like she was like, when the lights go off, he's a grizzly bear. I'm like, really? How do you know?
What?
Or maybe it's your imagination. She used that turn of phrase. I was like, oh well, so somebody better tell Mrs. Zelensky here. I think she got the hots and she got turned down. She got shot down and then she left out. Stormed out, slammed the door, and now she's out for revenge.
So Ukrainian legal experts are publicly stating that the claims Mendel made in this interview could qualify as treason under Ukrainian wartime law by delivering narratives that are designed to weaken Western support for Ukraine at a critical military and diplomatic moment. She is materially assisting an enemy power. It is very likely she can return to Ukraine without facing formal investigation or criminal charges. So
I think so. In any other country under martial law, I think that would absolutely be the case.
Yep. Also, she whatever. But where the damage is even more is Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson has been documented public record of opposing U.S. aid to Ukraine and amplifying Russian government narratives throughout this war by hosting C-word Mendel. Carlson gains a specific shield. He can now say, "Don't take my word for it." Even Zelensky's own press secretary is saying this.
He has a massive audience,
Yeah, this is the exact mechanism by which foreign information operations get laundered into mainstream American political discourse. Someone with apparent insider credentials delivers the message so the host doesn't have to. MAGA doesn't care. As long as somebody said it, they don't care. And they're going to believe this, and it's...
Yeah, there's no scientific method or facts. It's as long as somebody said it somewhere, it's a fact,
Which is why, you guys, we have to fight this with the truth. We have to help Ukraine. So if you can use your social currency to help get this stream out, get the videos out, subscribe to James, also help James out. There's so many things that we can do to help the truth and the information to push it. And I really hope you guys have been so far incredible at doing that, but we need it more, and we need it now more than ever. As you can see, the time is critical now. I know, trust me, I know, I'm here. The times in the United States are extremely rough, uncertain, with her leadership, with all the corruption of her leadership, or lack thereof of leadership. But this correlates with Ukraine, and we have to help them no matter what, because it helps us in the long form. Because I don't want to live in the States and be like Russia, even though we're almost there,
headed down the path.
They're slaves. Russians are slaves to the government. They don't know anything else, whereas Americans have liberty in their veins, in their DNA. So
at least the idea that liberty should exist, that's something that Ukrainians and Americans share with each other, and Russians don't believe in freedom and liberty. They really do not.
And last week, someone left a comment, and it was so good. They said that Ukraine is the new home of the land of the free, home of the brave.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. But so thank you so much, James. Thank you so much for being here and giving us such incredible information.
Yeah, didn't even feel like 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, no, it was great. It definitely helps me, because solo live streams are very difficult to do, because you have to be like an octopus doing 8
that's what I'm saying, man,
things at once.
Exactly.
And it's not really interesting for the viewers, because they're like sitting there like, come on. But I'm with somebody else, and somebody as knowledgeable as you, that's in Ukraine, that's defending Ukraine freedom and democracy. It definitely makes the stream so much better. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope you can join us again. And on that note, be brave like Ukraine. God bless America. We need it. And Slava Ukraini.
Heroam Slava. Do побачення, everybody.
And that's a wrap.